Shabbat Shalom. From wherever you are around the world, I don't know what the weather is like in your country, town, settlement, but here it's really a very hot night. I'll be honest and say we have just about a minyan. No, we have over a minyan in Shul because of various things. It's also the cricket, it's also tennis, and it's the middle of summer. Fortunately, people are prepared to schlep a long way, and tonight we welcome the Michael Fitzgerald, who you will see very often on the notes, Mick Fitz. Michael's come over from Dublin. It's his first. He follows our service regularly, but it's his first visit here on this Shabbat. And before we invite him to light the candles, I have to say you're very welcome. And being a good Irishman, he didn't bring a Guinness for the congregation. He's brought a wonderful box of chocolates. So those of you who are not here will miss out with having a wonderful Kiddush later, and that will be something special. Michael, I was, when I learned you were coming, I remembered I'd got a CD here. I don't know if you've got it. Irish, Jewish, Heart and Soul. And so I'd be grateful if you take a gift from us to take back, Irish, Jewish, Heart and Soul, of which I'm sure you have both. Irish and Jewish, Heart and Soul, and you're very welcome. So I'll ask the congregation, please, to rise on page 69 as we prepare that Michael is going to light the candles for us on this Shabbat. Read that prayer first.
In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the Shabbat. We welcome the Sabbath by kindling these lights.
Let's say together, Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel. Shabbat Shalom. Please sit down, Michael.
Oh,
enjoy, but not during the service.
Happy is the people by whom the Sabbath is sanctified. Happy are those who rejoice in its blessing. For it comes with a message of God's abiding love, as one who brings good tidings and publishes peace.
Sing a new song to the Eternal One.
Sing to your Creator, all the earth.
Sing to the Eternal One, praise God's name.
Proclaim God's salvation from day to day.
Declare God's glory among the nations.
God's wonders among all the peoples.
For great is the Eternal One and greatly to be praised.
To be revered above all other gods.
For all of them are mere idols.
But the Eternal One made the heavens.
Honor and majesty are in God's presence.
Strength and beauty in God's sanctuary.
Acclaim the Eternal One, all races and peoples.
Acknowledge God's glory and might.
Worship the Eternal One in the beauty of holiness.
Tremble in God's presence, all the earth.
Declare among the nations, God reigns, the world stands firm.
God judges the peoples with justice.
Let the heavens be glad and the earth rejoice.
Let the sea and all that fills it roar out praise.
Let the field exult and all that is in it.
Let the trees of the forest shout for joy before God, who comes to rule the earth.
To rule the world with righteousness.
And the peoples with truth.
B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Shalom v'zachor Dibor Echad Hishmianu Echad Yuchad Adonai Shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet b'litila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat lekabla likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha ki hi makom habaracha merosh mikedem Nesucha, Sof, Mahaseh, B'mahashva Tehila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Hitorari, Kivarek Uri Uri, Shabbat nekabela, boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha v'sohala, tochenei ha-segula, boi chala, lecha
And so we turn in our service to page 92. Page 92. Please rise. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai havorach leolam vaed.
Praise the one to whom our praise is due.
We praise the Eternal One,
to whom our praise is due forever.
Please sit down. And let's read together. We
Praise you, Eternal One, our God,
Sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall.
Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Alecha ahavta Torah
Shoch Beinu.
ובקומנו נשיאה בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך עולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו והנקם יומם ולילה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסור ממנו אל תסור ממנו לעולמים
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael,
Adonai
Eloheinu,
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Yolam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'adech u'v'shochbecha v'kumecha u'kushartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'kuchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Please sit down.
Let's continue together. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר כי פדר אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותחננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך. ובצדק כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו ומצילנו אתה, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה, ושמו צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם.
ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל יושבי תבל. Please rise. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open our lips that our mouths may declare your praise. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמרת להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך.
ברוך אתה אדוני,
האל הקדוש.
Please sit down. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and in meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace.
את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורות ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
And let's read together. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness. Gladden us with your salvation and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight.
We praise you, O God,
whom
alone we worship
in reverence.
Modim anachnu lach. Shatahu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu magen yishenu. Atahu ledor vador. Nodeh lecha unesaper tehilatecha. Al chayenu hamesurim biyadecha. Va'al mishmotenu hapkudot lach. Va'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu. Va'al niflotecha v'tovotecha. Shebachol eid erev v'voker v'tzohorayim. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh l'hodot. And before we sing Shalom Rav and pray for peace, it did strike me that many of you and many of us will have been disturbed during the week to hear that a missile hit in Lviv, and our thoughts were very much to our members of the congregation who live there. I believe that our afternoon service people talked to the people in Lutsk, and fortunately they didn't know of anybody from our Lviv congregation who was hurt by that missile. But we think of them, I'm sure, on many occasions when we hear of this terrible war going on. And I'd like to read just part of a prayer that Rabbi Eli Tikva Sarah wrote, and I noticed it was February 2022. And here we are in July 23 and still seeking God's support during this time. Eternal One, rock of our existence, the source and sustainer of life. As President Putin wages war on Ukraine and the forces of autocracy wreak havoc and attempt to instill terror and fear in every heart, we call on you to strengthen the people of Ukraine in their collective will to muster the courage and the fortitude to withstand the onslaught, strengthened by the knowledge that democratic nations across the world stand in solidarity with them and will do everything necessary to support their efforts and to resist the imposition of tyranny.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Amcha tasim le'olam, ki ata hu melech Adon l'chol hashalom, b'to beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael v'et kol ha'amim b'cholei tovacho sha'ar b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Amcha tasim le'olam.
As we read together, Supreme Source of Peace, grant true and lasting peace to your people Israel. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples may be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. And a moment for silent prayer.
shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu yakol Yisrael yakol bnei Adam.
And I now leave the sermon to Michael Gordon, who I'm very happy to be sharing the service with tonight.
Thank you. When I'm planning a sermon, I normally look at the week's parashah for inspiration. I had a look this week and none was forthcoming. You don't get away with it though, because I thought I'll have a look at the Haftarah. And the stories there this week are not suitable for a family service. So one of the characters, though, that does feature in one of the Haftarot is Elijah. And about 4 weeks ago, I was teaching my Cheder class. We were doing the prophets, and Elijah was one of the subjects. And they didn't glaze over entirely during that lesson. So I thought I'd share with you some thoughts, and hopefully you won't glaze over too much. If you asked who, beyond our patriarchs, was Judaism's main man, the answer would most probably be Elijah. He lives throughout our tradition, most of all, of course, at the Seder night, when we put out a cup of wine for him, because his arrival will usher in the Messiah, or the Messianic period. And more frequently, we sing for Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, at the end of Shabbat during Havdalah. Important as he therefore can be seen to be, Elijah figures only in 4 biblical episodes. We first read about his existence during the reigns of Jeroboam and Rehoboam, after the kingdoms of Israel and Judah have split. So we're talking of about years 850 BCE. The Israel kings tend to have their reigns cut short, often very short, by assassination, and it is a time of massive chaos. In Judah, it is prophets who appoint kings, and these tend to survive better. Omri rules Judah for 12 years. He has bought Samaria to establish his sanctuary, rather as David bought the Temple Mount before him. Omri is an evil man, like so many other of the kings, and he is succeeded by his son Ahab, who will rule for 22 years. Ahab turns out to be a worshipper of Baal, the fertility cult. Elijah appears out of the blue at the start of the first book of Kings, chapter 17. There is no prologue at all. A possible explanation for this might be that the Elijah episodes that we now have were selected from the other annals of the time, which are now lost. Anyway, Elijah goes and warns the king there will be a drought. Then God tells him to go east and hide. And strange things happen when he's around. For example, he is fed by ravens. Elijah goes all the way to Sidon, which suggests that Elijah is in fear of his very life. Here he stays with a widow and tells her that the little flour and oil that she has will suffice for the cakes she has to bake. Indeed, they feed her family for a long time. The widow's son dies a little while afterwards, and Elijah revives him. This is one of many miracles Elijah is to perform, but it is interesting that there are echoes of these 2 miracles in the story of Jesus, the Christian Messiah. Flour and oil matched by loaves and fishes, and both supposedly revived the dead. After 3 years of drought, Ahab and Elijah meet, and a massive drama is played out on the top of Mount Carmel, on a flat place at the top of the mountain overlooking the sea. Before all of Israel, Elijah challenges Ahab. It is to be the king's 450 prophets against him. A bull is to be burned, ignited by the respective deity. Baal's prophets fail to rouse their god, whereas miraculously Elijah's bull is burnt. The people respond with the words which now conclude Yom Kippur, Adonai hu ha-Elohim, the Lord alone is God, the Lord alone is God. The prophets of Baal are all slaughtered, and rain comes. Ahab's wife Jezebel threatens Elijah, who sets off again to flee, ending up at Beersheba, where he prays to die. Then an angel appears and encourages him. Elijah goes off and walks 40 days and 40 nights as far as Mount Horeb in the wilderness, further echoes of Jesus. The next miracle is that of the still, small voice. Unlike Moses, when God appeared in all his elemental power, this apparition is a soft, murmuring sound, suggesting that God is in Elijah. God tells Elijah to anoint Hazael as king of Aram near Damascus, and Jehu as king of Israel, and to appoint a successor. Aram was in or near Israelite territory, and the Israelites would have had kinship with people of surrounding territories. The story goes on, all but 7,000 Israelites will be massacred, and with a new king of Israel appointed, Elijah's job is done. He passes his mantle to Elisha and goes off to heaven in a chariot of fire. So Elijah is a miracle worker, later assumed to be the precursor of the Messiah. In his day, he destroyed kings and prophets as well as creating kings. His importance outlived him, as the Christian evangelists clearly wanted to link him with Jesus, whom they believed was the Messiah, and several of whose miracles they seem to have hijacked and invested on Jesus. Finally, this man, of whom there is so little in the Bible, retains his importance for Judaism as the hope for the future. That's his story. Next Seder night, perhaps that undrunk cup of wine will take on extra significance.
Always a teacher, and you taught us tonight, and I'm sure we're very grateful for that. But now we're moving on, not to Elijah or Elisha, but to the Aleinu on page 520, page 520. When you found the page, please rise. And let's join together. Aleinu l'shabech Adon hakol. לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השיבותה אל לבביך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, ein od. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might. When false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule. When all will invoke your name, relinquish evil, and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. And it has been said, the Eternal God shall rule over all the earth. On that day the Eternal God shall be one, and known to be one. Creator of the universe, You give us life in which joys and sorrows are commingled in accordance with your wisdom. And you send death with its promise of eternal peace. Teach us to accept humbly and courageously whatever burden is laid upon us. And on this Shabbat, on the occasion of their yahrzeits, we make mention of the names of Valerie Manuel, the sister of Pam Millard, Joe Neal and Douglas Manuel, and the aunt of Daniel and Simon Monk. Jane Rayner, the mother of Jacqueline Newman, Gordon Conradi, the father of Richard, and Frances Sacker, the wife of Tony. Albert Michael DeGrasse, the father of Susan Morris, Morris Max Blind, the brother of Renee Simmons, Sarah Wolfe, the mother of Alan Wolfe, Renee Jacobs, the mother of Pip Jacobs, Diana Kraft, and mother-in-law of Malcolm. And we ask that God should send comfort to all of those who mourn, and let the light of faith illumine the darkness of their sorrow with the hope of immortality. Strengthen us at all times with an unfailing trust in your providence. As we say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, B'agala v'zman kariv v'imeru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alama v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imruma, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol b'nei adam v'imeru. Amen. May great peace descend from heaven, and abundant life be granted to us and all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Please sit down. I don't know of any announcements or upcoming events during this coming week, except for a week's time we have Shabbat again, and next Friday there is Parashat HaShavua, but I don't think of anything else that's coming up.
My birthday.
When's your birthday?
16th of August, next to Sharon.
Well, yes, okay.
15th.
But that's a long time to come, and we hope to see you in Shul every week till then, and we'll wish you happy birthday in a month's time.
Celebrating on one, this big one.
Okay. Good. We're all celebrating big ones, but Adon Olam, yes, to finish with Adon Olam on page 525, 525.
Adon Olam Hashem Allah, Beter and Kol Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasal V'chet Hakol, Ozai Melech Shemo Yikra, Ve'acharei Yichlot Hakol, Levado Yimloch Nora, V'hu Hayam, V'hu Adonai
can't beat the old ones. מי ששכן את שמו בבית הזה, הוא ישכין ביניכם אהבה ויחווה, shalom ורעות. May the one whose presence dwells in this house and in all your homes cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among us. Amen.
Adonai Ozleamo iten, Adonai Yevarech et amo v'shalom. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to those of you online. We're going to make Kiddush in here in the synagogue, so everybody can join with us. So